Good morning, friends. It is Sunday, March 17. It's about 5:30 in the morning on the west coast of the United States. I got a busy day today, but I wanted to share some silver information with you. A couple of new things that I learned about silver. Let me share my screen here and we'll get started. There we go. Silver usage. That's what we're going to talk about. Let's take a quick run through the charts. We just looked at these 4 days ago, so just got a couple of bars that are new. Here in the daily time frame, we're looking at the COMEX chart. Silver has continued what looks like another breakout, popped up above this prior high and closed above that level, poked up above this is the first median line extension of this shift pitchfork. And now we've had two more price bars or candles where silver appears to be finding support along that median line. Very overbought based on MACD, energy very elevated. So, and 20-day rising above the 200. So bullish chart all in all, but we have to acknowledge that silver is becoming very overbought based on MACD. Let's just quick look. That was 2246 below back here in February, excuse me. So what's that? That's 3 weeks ago. So 3 weeks ago, silver was at 2240. And here we got a high at 25.40. So $3. So silver's gained $3 in 3 weeks. That's a big move. And so, silver's overbought in the daily time frame. Reasonable to assume that we'll get some consolidation or maybe even a little bit of a pullback. So far, we've just got a sideways consolidation. But anyway, point being, it's overbought. Not surprising that it's overbought after gaining $3 in 3 weeks. This is silver, still in the daily time frame. This is a spot chart. We're not futures, but silver. Bumped up into the bottom of this resistance zone formed from the prior high back in November of 23, pulled back from that level, again, overbought based on MACD, energy very elevated. Let's keep rolling. Weekly chart, poked above the 25 level, poked up and tested resistance at the median line of this shift pitchfork, pulled back and closed just below that level. And so, nothing wrong with that. MACD poking up into bull mode and on a new buy signal. And so relatively new buy signal. Bull mode suggests that the primary trend is to the upside. And then based on MACD, we've got a lot of room to run, or silver's got a lot of room to run before it bumps into the overbought level based on MACD. Energy very elevated, rising sharply. Monthly chart, just no excitement here, albeit this is still a healthy looking chart. You might argue that there's a head and shoulders pattern in there. Anywhere you look, you can find a head and shoulders pattern just about. So I don't focus on them. Quarterly time frame. To my eye, this is silver breaking out. We have this downward sloping pennant flag, if you will, in a cup and handle formation or pattern. That would be the handle. And now this looks like a breakout from that level. Again, MACD in bull mode, on a buy signal, relatively fresh buy signal. Lots of room to run before MACD becomes overbought. And again, that's quarterly time frame. So 3-month price bars and lots of room to run before this vehicle, silver, becomes overbought in this time frame. Half-year bars, 6-month price bars, same story. Energy very elevated, lots of room. to run before silver becomes overbought on MACD. So we could be looking at the start of a significant move to the upside in silver. And of course, silver's playing catch up with gold. Gold has made a larger move. I'd have to double check that on a percentage basis. What's the difference between silver and gold? But I suspect that on a percentage basis, gold has made a bigger move than silver, and silver needs to play catch up, or could play catch up. Now, the point of this video, I had a comment on the last silver video questioning the idea that there is 500 ounces of silver in every Tomahawk missile. And I have to thank the person that asked that question for asking it. It's an excellent question. And I had just been repeating that information. I've seen it numerous places. And I was just repeating it without doing any research. And so I did some research. I'm satisfied to my level of satisfaction that there could reasonably be 500 ounces of silver in every Tomahawk missile. And so anyway, let me share with you what I found. A couple of new pieces of information for me. So battery technology for missiles. I'd never thought about the batteries that are used in missile technology. Well, turns out that silver zinc batteries are ideal for high-tech purposes. They have a fast discharge rate, and more importantly, they have a stable output level throughout their discharge. And so the voltage output doesn't change as the battery discharges. So you've got a stable voltage level, which is certainly a good thing when you're dealing with sensitive electronics, whether it's missiles, tanks, ground stations, just as, mobile ground stations, battery powered. It doesn't matter what your application is. If you're serious about having quality electrical input, you're going to go with a high-tech battery. And it looks like silver zinc might be your choice, lighter than other battery options. So again, another reason to choose silver zinc batteries over other options. Reliable and rugged. Like, we can talk about both of those together. So reliable and rugged. Well, we're talking about military technology. It needs to be reliable and it needs to be rugged. And so again, it looks like silver zinc battery technology is a good thing for military applications. And then the ability to withstand high G applications like missiles, rockets, etc. Because obviously they do some high G maneuvers. My first job out of college was at General Dynamics in San Diego. And at the time, 1989, the Tomahawk missile was produced in multiple locations. They didn't single source the Tomahawk contract until it was early 90s, 94, 92, somewhere in there. DOD single sourced the contract for Tomahawk, and Raytheon won that contract and moved the manufacturing to Arizona, Tucson, I believe. I was given an option of moving to stay with that contract, but chose not to. San Diego is paradise, let me tell you. Once you've lived in San Diego, you don't want to leave, or if you do leave, you'll be coming back. That's what I always tell people. And then, common knowledge that silver is the most electrically conductive metal available. And so it makes sense that you could or would choose silver for high-tech battery technology. This is the link for where I found this information. We'll look at here. So it's Eagle Picture Technology. They make miscellaneous products, one of those products being batteries. And so on this page, they're talking about batteries for missiles and other munitions. They're talking about their history. They've done battery technology for all of those are missiles. And there's the Tomahawk. So not only the Tomahawk, but all these other missiles have silver zinc batteries as well. Extended range, high G rate capability, rugged, cold temperature operation, 20-year shelf life. That's important. So we were building Tomahawks, like I said, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And here it is 2024. And so, you're going to build a missile and put it on the shelf until the day that you have to use it. Hopefully you never use it, but a long shelf life is another justification or another reason for choosing silver zinc batteries. Evidently, here they are talking about why you need battery power. Oops, get out of there. Sorry about that, folks. I went out yesterday to the radio controlled airplane field. One of the hobbies I'm about to begin, and this bug came home with me, and so sorry that he's playing in this video. He wants to talk about batteries too. So anyway, silver zinc batteries. I'm just gonna deal with it. Let him be part of our show here. So missile guidance control, telemetry, tracking, flight termination, actuator systems. So all of those functions in missile technology are battery powered. So that's what they're showing us there. I think that's it. Down here at the bottom of the page, they're showing us data sheets, specs for their different batteries. And I didn't look at all of these. I looked at just a random sampling, and they've got batteries that are as big as 42 pounds. And so if we look at a 42-pound battery, is it unreasonable that it might have 30 pounds of silver in it? Seems reasonable to me. We'll see. One of these tabs I've got open. I found that about 70%. So about 70% of the material in a silver zinc battery is silver. So what's 70% of a 40-pound battery would be 28 pounds. So you might have 28 pounds of silver in that one battery. So anyway, let's get rolling here. We looked at that. That was what we were just talking about. So guidance control, telemetry, tracking, flight termination, actuator systems. Oh, that's what I was just saying. How much silver in a silver oxide battery? 75%. And this is coming from a recycling company. And so, they don't have any reason to obfuscate or lie about the amount of silver in a silver oxide battery. Tomahawk missile. So this is me just speculating. I don't have a source for this information other than my college degree is in aerospace engineering. I focused on the space side of things, expecting that we would have a robust space program during my working career. That hasn't happened. We don't have much of a space program at all at this point. Russia does, but that's tangential. So anyway, after we launch a Tomahawk, it can do one of two things. It can probably do some other stuff, but just based on what I know, it can fly directly to its target, comes out of the launch tube, flies to target, does what it's intended to do. Obviously, its range is classified. We'll see there's some numbers, if you poke around on the web, there are unclassified numbers for the range of a Tomahawk, and then it can loiter. So you can imagine there are missions where you don't know exactly what your end target is, but you want to be in the area. And so you send the missile to that area, and then you let it, fly racetrack or an oval, loiter, hang out in the area until a target presents itself or it becomes obvious what the target is. And again, loiter time is going to be classified. If we go to the manufacturer's sales pitch for the Tomahawk, we can get some insight, and this is what we find. It's got at least 1,000-mile range. Again, classified what its real number is, but we can assume that it's at least 1,000 miles, loiter for hours. And so they're not going to tell us what the actual loiter time is, but they're acknowledging that it's at least hours. I think, let me close that tab. So this is Raytheon. This is Raytheon talking about the Tomahawk missile, strike targets from 1,000 miles away, loiter for hours. So that's all we had there. Let's continue with this. So just back of the envelope calculations based on the information I've shared so far. Oh, this comes from this top speed. This is Britannica. So Encyclopedia Britannica, they're saying that the range is 1,500 miles. And again, the real number is going to be classified. We might assume that it's more than 1,500 miles, or we might assume that this is obfuscation, that it's less than 1,500 miles. We just don't know. Again, the real number would be classified. But Britannica is suggesting that its top speed is 550 miles an hour. Close that. And so if we base on that, if we use that information for our back of the envelope calculations, top speed 550, 1,000 to 1,500 mile range, that is 1.8 to 2.7 hours. And so that means we need battery capacity for at least that period of time. And so we need that much time to do all of these functions: guidance, control, telemetry, tracking, so on and so forth. And so we're talking about a lot of energy potentially for this time period, do all of this functionality and do it well, reliably, rugged, etc. All of the attributes that we talked about with silver zinc battery technology. And of course, the more loiter time we add to the flight profile, the more battery capacity we need. And if the true range of the missile is actually higher than this, that would be more battery capacity needed. And so the more battery capacity we need, the more weight we're going to have in our batteries, which means more silver is used. And so, again, I'm building the case, and this was as much for myself as to answer the person that asked the question, to support the idea that, yea, verily, there are 500 ounces of silver in each Tomahawk missile, or could be. Certainly, it's certainly a possibility. Oh, and that's what I'm saying here. So I certainly think it's possible. Um, Getting a definitive answer to the question would involve both proprietary information about silver zinc batteries, which we're not going to get proprietary information, and then classified information about the Tomahawk missile, which again, we're not going to get that. Let's see, if we look at some of the specs about the Tomahawk missile, 2,900 pounds. You know, this is not a trivial missile. 2,900 pounds, that's a ton and a half. You know, that's a compact car. You know, my little BMW, my M Coupe, it weighed 3,200 pounds, basically. So, you know, that's the weight of a, you know, certainly a VW Bug. Or certainly some other compact cars. And then if we put the booster on it, 3,500 pounds and 18 feet long. So we're talking about a substantial missile. And the point I want to make here is that a 2,900 pound missile, let's see, 10% of that would be 290 pounds, 1% would be 29 pounds. So to assume that 500 ounces of silver, that's 31 pounds, 31 and a quarter. So 31 and a quarter pounds in a 2,900 pound missile, that's only 1% or just over 1%. And so again, in my mind, that seems reasonable to assume that 1% or so of a missile is taken up by the battery. And in particular, we all know batteries are heavy. If you ever replaced the battery in a vehicle or even a flashlight, pick up a battery-powered flashlight and feel its heft. You know, batteries are heavy, just inherent part of their nature. And so again, not unreasonable to me to think that 1% of a missile was battery technology. So when I worked at General Dynamics, big campus, very large campus, there were 14,000 employees in 1989. They were the largest employer in San Diego at the time. And on my breaks, I'd go wander around the campus. And so a lot of the areas were secured. I didn't have access to, but some of the areas had glass windows in the doors. So you could look through the window and see some of what was going on in those areas. And so I could get some little insights into the production of the Tomahawk missile. Couldn't get up close and touch it, but I could look through a couple of different windows and see, you know, Tomahawk sitting on a test stand, for example. And then in another building in the basement, there was a computer lab, and I could look through the window and see we had our General Dynamics had a Cray computer, which at the time, of course, that was the pinnacle of computing power, or at least the publicly acknowledged pinnacle of computing power. The round, if you ever looked at the picture of a Cray computer, it was circular to reduce the length of the wires, you know, from component to component. They were trying to reduce the length of the wires to increase the speed at which the signal could travel through those wires. So obviously, we've come a long way since the days when Cray was the supercomputer. And so that wraps up the answer to the question, is there or is it reasonable to say that there are 500 ounces of silver in every Tomahawk missile? I'm going to say yes, based on the information that I found last night. And then I went on, you know, I got kind of on the theme of, okay, what else does the military do with usage? Oh, and coincidentally, I had listened to a podcast yesterday where the speaker was saying that the Silver Institute was founded by the military, DoD, and one of the objectives of the Silver Institute is to obfuscate, hide, color, influence, however you want to look at it, how silver is actually used and where the demand sources for silver come from, in particular the military. And so that was a new idea to me. And I've never heard that I've never heard anyone suggest that the Silver Institute was started by the United States military or DoD. And of course, I did a little bit of research on that idea and didn't find anything. And of course, you wouldn't expect them to come right out and say, yeah, we were founded by the DoD because they wanted to hide military usage of silver. So anyway, I was looking at other military usage of silver and came across this idea: exceptional strength. Helps protect our troops, essential component of the C-17 and the Apache helicopter. And this is I've got a data source. It's that link right there. That's where I found this. And then this is me thinking about that. Well, two of the qualities of silver. Silver is an incredible metal, you know. It's a very valuable metal and strategic metal. And so as a strategic metal, you might choose to hide the usage of silver in military functionality, military technology. But anyway, the two properties that come into play in this case would be silver being ductile and malleable. So if you shot a bullet into a silver plate, a plate made out of silver, instead of allowing the projectile to penetrate, go through the silver plate, first, the plate would deform. It would bend, you know, it would get a dimple. The projectile would hit, the silver plate would deform, and in the process of deforming, it absorbs at least some of the energy from the projectile. And so it makes sense to me that silver would be useful when you're looking at shielding a military vehicle from projectile impact. And so anyway, that was a new idea for me, that silver is useful as protection from projectiles. And so let's look at this couple of sources of information related to that. This is talking about all the different minerals that are used in military technology. And here's that silver. Key resource, military aircraft. So not just the C-17, but military aircraft in general. So they're just citing the C-17 and then the Apache helicopter. Malleable and ductile also being one of the strongest known. And that was a new idea to me as well, strongest metals known. Yeah, again, I'd never thought of silver in this context. So I found that interesting. Top 8 minerals, national defense, and it talks about them. And then again, strength of silver, Apache helicopter, Air Force C-17. Let me close those two tabs. And then this was following the link from the previous page. These are the qualities that I commonly think about for silver. Electrical conductivity, that's obvious. That's why we use silver solder in most electrical components is because silver is such a great conductor of metal. And then high optical reflectivity. It's the most reflective metal, and that's why it's used in solar panels. And so those were the two most common usages or qualities of silver that I was aware of. I had forgotten about the thermal conductivity, and then this was the new idea, ductility, ductile and malleable. It deforms under impact. And that's what they're showing in this infographic. It's a hammer hitting a silver plate. Well, the hammer could be a bullet hitting the silver plate. And again, the plate deforms. It absorbs the energy of the projectile. So, and again, that's just a repeat of that same information. Solar energy, high tech, automobiles, microwaves, etc. Solar cells, sensors, so cell phones, tablets, etc., medical technology. Silver is also a natural antiviral and antibacterial. And so it has usage in, here they're listing it, has medical usage in batteries. So if you not batteries, excuse me, Band-Aids, starts with a B. You may notice that some battery, there I go again, I got batteries on the brain, another B word. Some Band-Aids and bandaging material has silver embedded in it. Well, it's because, again, silver is a natural antibacterial, antiviral. What else? And so anyway, again, this information is talking about silver and its usages. This article presents some interesting ideas. There's the link to it if you want to track it down. The article is pointing out that when we typically look for information about the usage of silver, this is what we find. Jewelry, electronics, medical, solar, electrical. Used to be it was photography. You know, they talk about most silver being used in photography. Well, that was before digital photography. And so now we don't find photography as a significant usage of silver. We've moved on. We don't develop. It was some of the chemicals used in the development process. Excuse me. And so anyway, this is the typical usages of silver that we find when we go looking for that kind of stuff. And then the article goes on and is making the point that these 5 government agencies are also significant users of silver, but they don't report how much silver they use. That's an interesting idea. And that they stopped reporting in the 95 to 96 time frame. This paragraph, it's talking about the Bureau of Mines, that was the agency which would track and report on usage of minerals by these 5 agencies, and that bureau was abolished in 1996. So interesting. Strategic mineral, although evidently the Department of Energy does not list that it's a strategic mineral. So anyway, interesting article talking about the massive and unrecorded usages of silver, all of these sources. So anyway, interesting stuff. 2021, we imported 6,500 metric tons. What's that? 13,000 pounds of silver was imported in 2021. And I would assume it has grown, increasing usages in EVs, solar panels, all of the green technologies use silver. So anyway, interesting article, presents some ideas about silver that I hadn't thought about before. And so this is the 2023 World Silver Survey, which is published by the Silver Institute. You can see there, silverinstitute.org. And if we go to page 10, let's go to page 10 of this document, they show us this table, silver supply and demand. And here under demand, if we look at these usage or use cases, the only category where we might find silver usage by those 5 government agencies is this industrial category. And so perhaps, and other industrial, you know, that's pretty wide net there. And so you might squeeze military usage of silver into industrial, perhaps. We don't know. And there's no way for us to know. Classified information. Based on this article, the information was no longer shared after 1996. And so anyway, there is no category listed here specifically for military purposes, military usage, Department of Energy usages, and that's my point. If we were looking for those categories, we aren't going to find them here. The next thing I did in this document was to search on the keyword military. And so it only shows up twice in this document. Let me expand this. If you tilt your head sideways, you'll see there's one of the occurrences of military, and it's talking about operations in a foreign country by another country. And then again here, military activity by another foreign country. So the only occurrences of the word military in this document is in this timeline in reference to foreign countries and their military activities. So now let me go back to the slide deck. That's a repeat of what we just looked at. That's the link. We just looked at the silver survey. And this was a kind of a summary of my ideas. I looked for the word military. So now we have some insights into the military usage of silver, you know, because one of these documents told us, well, we've got silver zinc technology in missiles and rockets and probably other military applications because of the qualities of silver zinc batteries, rugged, stable voltage output throughout the discharge cycle. If you've got any insight into electronics, that's actually a very important quality when you're dealing with sensitive electronics. And so anyway, insight into the military usages of silver, we've got the battery technology, and then essential. So unknown, but essential usage in military aircraft, at least the C-17 airplane and the Apache helicopter. And again, this is supposition, an assumption on my part, that one of the usages of silver in aircraft is to project protection against impact from projectiles. Basically, we're shielding our aircraft from bullet strikes because the silver will deform and absorb some of the energy from the impact. And then that was what we just looked at. We don't find a specific category in the silver survey. We don't find a category that lists specifically, there's our friend back, silver usage by the military. So no category there for military, Department of Energy, etc. So that's all I've got in this video. I just wanted to share what I'd found from my investigation. I want to thank, the person who asked the question. Thank you. It sent me off on a research path I'd never done before. And, shame on me for just blindly repeating the idea that there are 500 ounces of silver in every Tomahawk missile. But based on my research, I think it's reasonable to assume that that is accurate. So that's all I got today, folks. Let's see, yesterday was radio controlled aircraft. Today is go-karts. And so here in a bit, I'll be headed off to the go-kart track. That's another hobby I'm about to take up. And so I'll share that with you in the future. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Stop sharing. Oh, stop sharing and end this video. See you, folks.